broken legs way far away from my heart. So I knew in that moment there's no sulking or pouting or anything like that, feeling sorry for myself. Immediately cheering on my teammates.
There it is! And for the first time since 2009 and 7th overall, the Tigers can say, we are champions.
If I had to trade a broken leg for a national championship, I'd do it 10 times. I'd do it 10.
Hello, welcome back to Like-Minded Servants with me, Cecil Graves, where leaders and entrepreneurs come to get better every day. I'm going to ask Alex a pretty powerful question to get this episode started, and it's, how do you feel you were prepared for that third game?
You know, it's very easy in a situation like that for people to get out of control of themselves or do uncharacteristic things, whether good or bad. You know, in a situation like that where it feels like the whole season has led to this point and everything that you've done that season has led you to that point, and you have one game, one opportunity, winner take all. I think that can, you know, hurt people in a bad way, and it could also hurt people in a good way. And I think something that this team did so well was taking games one game at a time, and also having an incredible disconnect, like kind of how we were talking about hunting and fishing being my disconnect, or people having something to go to. Like, this team was so good at separating games and taking it one game at a time, one pitch at a time. And that's what made us the team we were. And that's because you look at game two, what happened in game two? We got the crap kicked out of us. And, I mean, it wasn't just a normal loss, but got the crap kicked out of us.
Did y'all feel in game two, did y'all feel like kind of mentally detached or just kind of had just given up?
I wouldn't say given up, but I would definitely say it got to the point where it was out of hand, and it was by the time you're in the eighth inning, sixth, seventh, eighth inning, it's like your mind's already detached from this game and you're moving on, and that's the best thing that could have happened. That's, you know, looking back on it, if you were going to lose that game, that's how you would want to lose it. You wouldn't want to lose a heartbreaking game.
Right.
You know, that would just drain you and stuff. And I hate talking about losing like that, but looking back on it, it wasn't the worst way to lose.
Right.
So going into game three, like, nobody had the mindset of, oh, crap, what's going to happen? You know, how's this next game going to go? No, it was next game, next pitch. And our coach's message was, before game three, Coach Johnson's message was, hey, back in February when you stood in the middle of that locker room, said who you played for, and you said your goal was to win in Omaha. And I told you back in February that you had one game, one opportunity with the players on this team against Florida, and that game meant you were national champions. Would you take it? And everybody in that room was nodding their head, yes, we all would have taken it. And that's just kind of that trust and faith we had in each other to, hey, that game's behind us now. Nobody was worried about somebody bringing that last game into this game. And we all trusted each other that we were going to go out there and perform as well. You know, I remember laying in bed and everything, when you talk about what prepared me for that game, everything we just talked about in this podcast is what prepared me for that game. Everything. From the time I was, you know, riding.
You've been preparing for it your whole life.
Yeah, this is what you prepared for, and this is what I worked for, and my parents invested in me. You know, car rides with Nani, all this prepared me for that situation. And from there, it was just take a deep breath, stay in control of yourself. I think that's something many people, many athletes, people in general can learn from, is just taking as simple as just taking a deep breath and relaxing. That's what I've done, and that's what I found helps me in situations like that, where it's very easy to get that heart racing, with 25,000 people screaming, and it's so just key for you to slow the game down. And it's the same game you've been playing since you were 6 years old. It's just slowing the game down, slowing your heartbeat down, and just having fun, man. And that's exactly what we did in that game, was go out there and just that was one of the funnest games I've played in my life. And it was just incredible, man.
What I do a bad job of is I don't slow down.
Yeah.
These two guys can tell you I'm rushing to get through things. My team I'm scattered. I'm all over the place.
Yeah.
And I did it right when we started this episode, and you're talking about that, just slowing down. And I'm like, I want to slow down and understand all this built up to that game, and then what was going through your mind. Like, bring us into the break when your leg broke, just everything that you felt, and the transitions into the tunnel. And then when I want to get to Jordan a little bit, if we can.
Yeah. So, like I was talking about earlier, like some of the biggest fears athletes have is, or the biggest fear an athlete would have is an injury. And, like not just an injury and taking you out of the season, but how about an injury taking you out of the national championship game? And that's not something I ever saw happening, when I had this game planned out in my head the night before, and I was like, oh, the dog pile. I'm going to catch that last pitch. I'm going to go tackle my pitcher. I did not have myself pictured wearing a boot, with a broken leg.
Yeah.
But like I said a while ago, earlier in that season, I said, no matter what road God takes me down, I'm going to follow it blindly. And that just so happened to be the path that game. And but yeah, as soon as it broke, I felt it break. Before I stepped on home plate, I felt the break, and I knew it was broken. I tried to keep playing; they wouldn't let me. But which I'm glad they didn't let me, because as soon as the doctor said put some weight on it, I done. And then we went back, got it X-rayed, and it was what seemed like such a bad moment at the time. Later down the road, it had like light at the end of the tunnel. Everybody's crying. My family's crying. I'm crying. The
game's still happening.
Yeah.
The game's still
the game's still going on. And some of my mom, while we were back there, she walked and checked on the game, and the security guards actually brought her to the side of the dugout, close to the dugout on the field, and some of the players were coming up to her like, how's Alex? What they're saying, is he going to be okay? I'm so sorry. I feel so bad for him. My mom looked at him and said, don't feel bad for him. You got a game to win. Go out there.
Focus.
We'll worry about this later. And that was the message to me too. That's the message my parents had to me. Hey, get your butt back out there in the dugout and go support your teammates, and be the best teammate you can be now. And that's exactly what I did. I didn't sulk for long. It's emotional.
Yeah.
And the next move was get back in that dugout and cheer on my teammates, cheer on Hayden, who was now catching, and be the biggest cheerleader I could be in that dugout at the time. And then, you fast forward to after the game, I'm riding on Paul Skeen's back, which, we didn't know the impact it would have. That's just Paul Skeens being a leader, being a good guy, and saying, hey, if you're not going out there, if you can't go to that dog pile, I'm not going to the dog pile.
Wow.
He said, I'm going to carry you on my back.
Yeah.
And right there. But I check my phone after the game. It's long after the game, after celebrating and stuff, and we're back at the hotel, and I look on my phone and I open Twitter, and it's like, holy crap. This picture is everywhere. The video of me riding Skeens' back is everywhere. Would I trade a broken leg for that? Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Like at the moment, I didn't see.
Didn't understand.
That. I didn't really understand why it happened. I kind of had that, man, why me?
Yeah.
Didn't last long. It probably lasted 5 minutes of why me, man.
You're a human being.
Yeah.
It's
And then it just goes to show you why not me.
yeah.
And you know,
'cause it
God
seems like-
had big plans, and you know, it was pretty cool to watch it all play out.
And it was like no time, because it does not feel like you were back there long. And I looked at the dugout, and you're posted up right back out there, and all of y'all are motivated, and it's I don't know, it was a special moment. And then to see him not just go jump on the field and expect you to get on some crutches or make your way out there. I mean, you got on his back. He looks like a pretty big guy and went out there and celebrated, and you still got to be a part of that team experience. That's a once in a lifetime, like there's not even a percentage that people will actually get to experience what you got to experience. But before the break too, because I don't want to leave him out, Jordan, he was just, they were hard on him on social media. He was just having a
I think
kind of difficult game.
Yeah, I think something that's important, before we get all the way into it, I think something that's super important about that is younger athletes can learn from him is look at all the critics and the people who could have done better than Jordan Thompson. All the basically people coaching from the couch, saying, "Oh, I could get out there and play better than." Yeah. I mean, let's be honest. Nobody understands what he was going through until you're in that player's cleats. Nobody understands how hard that game is. It's literally started with 300 and something teams, and you're down to the last two teams. And he was going through. He wasn't hitting great, but we're not in that World Series without Jordan Thompson.
Yeah.
We're not in that situation we are in without him as a player or as a person. And I think younger athletes can learn. You never saw him act differently. You never saw him hang his head one time or say, "Why me, man? Why are people doing this to me?" Not one time did he do that. And I was actually just watching the QB documentary on Netflix with Kirk Cousins, Patrick Mahomes, and I thought Kirk Cousins said something that was pretty cool, and it was, if my critics saw me running on water, they would say I couldn't swim.
Wow.
And think about that, and, I think younger athletes can look at what happened to Jordan Thompson and just look at him as an example. He not one time was he selfish, pouting. He never let what was being said impact him. All that mattered to him was what we as teammates thought of him, and nobody ever doubted him in that dugout, and that's all that mattered.
How did y'all come around him? What did you do? What did other players do because I would have felt a little. If I'm on the team and they're treating my buddy like that, and I know what's going on, I would feel love for him, and plus I would want to almost defend him.
Yeah,
kind of a little bit. What did y'all do to come around him to help him go to that third game and go, man, all that's over. Yeah. I'm putting that behind me. Yeah. That's in the past.
Well, I watched guys kind of, this whole team. Each and every guy on this team went through some kind of struggles, and this team just kind of embraced each guy. And, the night before that game, I remember I guess it was God talking to me, saying you got to help him. Like, you got to talk to him. Let him know you still believe in him. And I shared that testimony at church, and I talked about it. But the next day before that game, and I went up to Jordan. I remember, I'll never forget this moment the rest of my life. I went up to Jordan in that tunnel. So there's a tunnel with cages, and then you walk out into the dugout. I remember stopping Jordan. This is probably an hour before the game. I went and stopped Jordan in the tunnel, and I said, "Hey, if you need for somebody to believe in you, just look at me. Just look at me. I believe in you. Now let's go win this thing." And I'll never forget his first at bat. He was he talked to me after the game, and he told me how much that meant to him to hear from me in that moment when he was facing a lot of criticism, which was more rewarding than that national championship. For me at least. I'll never forget looking at him in that batter's box, and we made eye contact. I was in the hole by coach, made eye contact, and I nodded my head, and he just kind of nodded his head right back at me, and sure enough, base hit. And it was awesome, man. I was super proud of him for how he handled himself. Super happy for him for the performing in that game like he did. Not only just to kind of put it in some people's faces, but just because that's the kind of person he is, that's the kind of teammate he is, and that's the kind of friend he is.
Yeah, I noticed that when you were here on this stage, talking about that. Everybody loves all the success. They love that you went back out in that pile after and did all that, and all that stuff makes us feel good. But the fact that you were a servant to him, that you stopped, you didn't go, man, I got to get my head ready to catch this game. This is third game. We just got beat. I got to go into this one and really impact these people. I've got to do this. You said, no, we've got to do this.
Yeah, baseball's a weird sport, man. It's, it's not like football where, it's truly 11 guys. It's truly a team sport. Baseball's almost like a team sport, but it has individual battles at each position. Like, nobody's in that batter's box helping you. You can either feel on top of the mountain in that batter's box, or you can feel, like so alone and like you're in the darkest place in the world. I've been in both spots.
Yeah.
But yeah, and it's almost like a group of individual efforts come together to make a team, I guess you could say. And it's just different, man. It's so different because nobody can help you. Right. I've been there before, and I knew how he felt, and nobody can help you in those low moments because you just feel so alone when you're in that batter's box or you're on the pitcher's mound or at your position and the ball's hit to you. And I think that's why I had just kind of that, hey, I got to help him out, even if it's saying what I said, something as simple as that. And he came, and the coolest moment for me, like I said, was when he came up to me after the dog pile and hugged me and said, hey, you don't know how much that meant to me, what you said to me in the tunnel.
Yeah, I think that's so impactful, hearing that from the stage today. I didn't even know you until before this, and I always sit up here on the front. So you were front and center, and I walked in and, of course, saw people that served you your whole life. Your grandpa, your girlfriend probably serves you mentally now and things. But I don't want to leave Paul Skeens out, and pictures in that relationship. I want to capture all this because, we've waited to get to this third episode. And I feel like after talking to you that the catcher serves the pitcher. How do you serve the pitcher through the game, through the season? How were you there for Paul?
Yeah, I think being a catcher is one of the toughest positions in sports, mentally and physically. You take a beating back there, but you also have to be locked in mentally 100% every pitch. You can't, as a catcher, you can't take a pitch off. As an outfielder, you can, walk around a ball you might not get a ball in the game. And it's a grind behind that dish because every game, every pitch is coming to you. There's no time to take a pitch off. If you do, you could potentially lose the game, But yeah, and I think a lot of that goes into, a lot of that mentality and stuff goes into, I have to be a servant to my pitcher. I have to be a leader, but also be there for him. And something I do for that is I actually have I guess you could call it a journal, a notebook, whatever. But I get to know, like, my goal at the beginning of each year is to get to know every pitcher. Super important. I need to know their tendencies, their mentality on that mound. I think that's so, and also getting to know them as a person. That's so important for me because in the middle of the game, I'm the only one catching the guy, and we're basically a team working together. And I might see something that coaches might not see, and I have to be able to stop right there and say, hey, you're leaking on your front side a little bit, or you're flying open just a hair, and, talk to them on a mound visit in that moment right there. But also as a person and mentally getting to know each guy is so important, because I need to know if, hey, my pitcher right here, I have to talk to him after every pitch, like encourage him after every pitch. Or a guy like Paul Skeens, I didn't say a word to him. That's just who he was. Yeah. That's he had it figured out mentally on that mound. That he didn't need words of encouragement. He was confident in himself, and he knew what he had, and he brought it to the table every day. And be able to work with a guy like Skeens was just awesome. He's by far the best pitcher I've ever caught, one of the hardest workers I've ever been around. And you saw it come draft day, going 1-1, and you also saw it in what he did in this season. I mean, he was able to put up the best pitching performance in college baseball throughout the season, and that just goes to show you the kind of person he is and the hard worker he is. But something that nobody really talked about a lot was the leader he was in that locker room and for other pitchers too. He was a guy that went out there and did it himself, but he would also hold everybody around him to a certain standard that needed to be met that each and every day, But yeah, it was cool being able to work with a guy like that.
Yeah.
At such a high level, and it was a lot of fun. My hands hurt a lot, but yeah.
But y'all really
cool.
were, like you said, y'all were a team.
Yeah.
Almost within a team. Like everything's happening around, but these two know that they've got to focus and hone in and get it done so that the other ones,
no doubt,
can play.
Yeah, and it's like we were talking serving the pitcher. It's so important for a catcher to basically, that's what I am. I'm a servant to that pitcher.
That's super cool. Well, everything you've shared with us has just been amazing. I knew that's what this would be like. I knew it after Superior Grill when we ate that day. I was like, man, wow, thank you. I thanked God for putting you in my life to be on this journey with you, and to have this, guess we could call it a vessel to show others, look, whatever you're going through out there, wherever you're at in life, there's guys like you that have stepped up, been grateful, served other people, done so many powerful things at an early age.
Thankful for guys like you, man, to be able to have this platform and this podcast that I guess you could say this podcast puts you on a platform for, just normal people sharing their story, their testimony, and thankful for you having me.
So I want to leave the audience with a pretty impactful question and answer. And I did this podcast to go back to Cecil at 18, 19, 20, 30 and help him. Because I think the only way I can help anybody is through my experiences. How would you, if you could go back to the 12, the 13, the 16-year-old Alex and change something to make him better, what would you do? What would you go back and tell him?
Yeah, I would, if I could go back and talk to my younger self, I would definitely tell myself to smile more. And I'm already a pretty happy person, but, smile more. Don't always look so far into the future, if that makes sense. I have to remind myself of that to this day, but, enjoy where your feet are. Really enjoy where you're at in that moment in life, and don't always look for the, it's good to look forward to things and have goals, but, remember things are just, baseball's just a game, and remember to be where your feet are and enjoy each and every moment.
Okay, I like that. That is a bumper sticker. Enjoy where your feet are. That's super cool. And I think everybody can apply that to their life. I don't care how old
I tried to remind myself in the World Series Game 3 after the game, just kind of look around and take in everything that was going on in that moment. Or it wasn't until after I broke my leg that I was just kind of in that dugout looking around like, wow, man, look where I'm at. Like, even in a moment like that, I got so caught up in winning the game that you almost, winning the game and the expectations, and the pressure came. That it's a high impact situation, so there's a lot of pressure that you kind of forget to just look around and enjoy it and be like, holy crap, I'm at the College World Series. There's 30,000 fans watching me. Like, this is awesome. So I reminded myself in the middle of the game after I broke my leg and I was out the game, I was almost taking mental snapshots in my head, trying to,
hang on to it.
Yeah, have as many memories, after.
Yeah.
So yeah, if I could tell anybody anything, it would just try to be where your feet are and enjoy every moment.
I like that. And I think that's where we ought to leave everybody. Try to be where your feet are. Well, that brings us to a close. I hope you enjoyed this third podcast with Alex. I certainly did. Like, I could probably do this with him every day. Be looking in the future. We got a really cool duck hunt coming this fall, so be looking for some crazy cool pictures. But if this impacted you, all 3 segments, if it all impacted you, share it all. Share it on social media. Share it through a text. And we're on all podcast platforms as well. So, hey, let's all go serve someone today so we all get better together.